What's up, guys? Welcome to the BFF Report. I am your host, Mike PAK Phony, and today we're gonna be taking a look at Rusty Hearts. This game hit, I wanna say it hit closed beta in Korea beginning of this year, somewhere around there, and now it's in closed beta here in the US, and I got a chance to jump in there and take a look at it. Now, again, just like Dragon Nest, you know, when these things are this early in beta, open beta, closed beta, whatever, I try not to really get too much into it because things change. Like, pretty much every other BFF report I've done in the past, like it's like, oh hey, closed beta just hit, open beta just hit, check this out, and then like 2 weeks later, old.
Alright, character selection, because the characters are actually already pre-made, and as far as I could tell, there's no customization you could do to the characters out the gate. I know later on you can do customization with costumes and all that stuff, but right now, in closed beta, right, because it's still kind of early, guys, you can't, there's no customization screen. There's no screen where I could go, okay, yeah, I want to adjust her face a little bit, and I want to tighten up her waist, because obviously she's fat. No, there's none of that stuff in here yet, but I was watching some Korean beta test video, and I did see that their characters actually looked a little bit different than ours, and I don't mean like the outfits. I understand, again, the outfits change. It was the actual hairstyles and all that. So I'm gonna go ahead and assume that either one, that's just a cleverly designed hat, two, it'll be a cash up item just like a lot of customization options that are in other Korean developed MMOs. Three, it's just not a feature that's been implemented yet, but I'm gonna go ahead and lean towards one, especially after reading this line here in Angela's bio. Damn it. That being said, let's go ahead and take a look at the different characters that are available to you. The first one we're going to take a look at is Franz Kruger, and briefly going over his bio real quick, he is a vampire, and you're thinking, yeah, with a sword, blade, what's up? And then you read the first line, it says, a man with a past full of turmoil and suffering. Oh, crap. And while he may be a huge crybaby on the inside, he certainly carries himself pretty well on the outside. He also carries mobs by the throat and chokeslams them, doing AoE damage with an added knockback effect, so we'll let him pass. And since there are no classes per se, just as you'd expect in a lineup such as this, the leading character is expected to be the one that's balanced in terms of abilities, just like, you know, Leonardo was back in the day. This is France all the way, a little bit of melee, a little bit of magic. Toad McCloud is another one with a very unusual story. He somehow managed to get an ancient wolf's tooth embedded into his chest, which gave him magic powers. So suspending disbelief, okay, a tooth gave him magic powers, okay, fine. Where does this guy hang out that he's aggroing ancient wolves? His playstyle is almost pure melee street brawler. Even his dodge animation is standard duck and weave. But if you've ever played Double Dragon or any of the Street Fighter games, you'll actually probably feel right at home with this guy. And then there's Angela, but before I say anything, watch his fight. Angela is the magic user of the bunch. Keep in mind that floating, flashing, finishing move that I just did, that was me leveling. I don't really think there's anything else to say. Now, there are a lot of MMOs coming out that allow you access to both mouse and keyboard and controller, right? That's like a big selling point. It's like, oh, you could play a controller of this game. Well, Vindictus, for example, right? If I were to choose between mouse, keyboard, and controller, I would choose mouse, keyboard just any day of the week because it was just, there was just no argument. It was just better to be able to sit there and whip around the camera when you need to and getting off a shot or rotating your character or whatever. It just played better. Dragon Nest, same thing, right? However, because you do not have full control over the camera at all times, especially during combat, you have like no control over it. It plays like a platformer, side-scroller, street brawler. Controller implementation here is perfect. I mean, if you're not playing with a controller, I get it. Some of you guys could be like, oh, I love my mouse and keyboard. Okay, fine, good for you, okay? But I'm just telling you, you're missing out. Now, just like any good MMO or just any MMO period, you have quests, right? Go talk to this person, go do this task, go grab some of these things and bring them back to me, go explore this, and that's it, right? So nothing groundbreaking here. It's kind of the same old, okay? But then again, with a game like this, it doesn't really seem like their focus is gonna be on revolutionizing the questing process. Then there's the place where you'll be doing the majority of those, dungeons. These are instance areas you can explore with up to 4 players and have an unlockable tiered difficulty system. You move from section to section, defeating waves of spawning mobs, and then eventually find yourself in a boss encounter. Now I know you're thinking, oh yeah, that's just another day in just about any beat 'em up or brawler. Well, it is, right? But at least this game has a couple things going for it. One, the gameplay is tight and responsive, making actually playing the game fun and not a keyboard smashing experience. And two, and we never base a game off of this, but as long as it's one of the supporting features of it, it's kind of worth mentioning. The art direction of the game is phenomenal. It looks amazing. If I show you a freeze frame of the character selection screen, most people would say, oh, that's a pretty cool picture. And then they see it move, and they probably shit themselves. And three, Player housing, GTFO. Bitches, I have a pool table falling out of my bed distance from where I sleep. And supposedly in the future, they're gonna allow you to buy stuff to put in here. Bonus XP, double XP, empowerment, fatigue. Every game has some way to limit the rate at which a player can level over a short period of time. In some cases, free-to-play games sell scrolls or elixirs that give you a limited buff to your XP gain as a way to generate profit. In Rusty Hearts, this is called stamina. And just like Dragon Nest, I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt and let them get in there and work out the kinks before I dive into it. But let me just go ahead and say it right now, everybody hates it. Now on to the most important element in any MMO, costumes. And as far as I've gotten in this game, I've only received a handful of costume pieces, which, for those who are unfamiliar, are cosmetic gear that masks your stat gear to allow you to look like Beetle Bear while PvPing if you wanted to. Bearing in mind that there's no way to customize your character from the start, you would think that you could at least use dyes or some kind of color selection, you know, so that your Beetle Bear costume doesn't look like the other guy's Beetle Bear costume, because that's really awkward. Well, unfortunately, there isn't a system like that in place, and it's kind of a big thumbs down. One of the other issues I have is that these things are just way too easy. Like, I paired up with this guy to do these things, like, just to see what it was like to pair up with somebody. I can't imagine going through here with 4 people on, like, very hard, or I guess eventually blood mode, and just probably just annihilating everything. I have not gone through anything that I couldn't solo myself. Let's put it that way. And you know, it's early closed beta. They probably scaled the difficulty back when they launched it outside of Korea because the Koreans are way better at video games than we are. But I think you guys overshot our sweet spot by a lot. Feel free to make it so that I die every once in a while, because it makes it feel like I actually have to try when I'm playing. All right, guys, so comparing this with, let's say, Dungeon Fighter Online, right? Because that's kind of in the same vein. How do you guys compare, for those of you guys who played it? I very briefly played it in the past, and all I could say is that the graphic difference is just huge. This one obviously being a bit more appealing to the eyes, the other one being a bit more throwback. So it's kind of like pros and cons there for me anyways. So let me know, comments below, at AKMikeB on Twitter and on Facebook and on YouTube. And also remember last week, the whole like microphone thing and stuff like that? Well, I probably won't do that again because had to replace it with this big hefty beast. Look at this thing. Look at this thing. It's crazy being held on my sat bag. See you guys next week.